In this video, we're looking at multiplying and dividing polynomials. The first example, I'm going to multiply a trinomial by a constant. So I have 3 multiplied by 4x squared minus 2x plus 1. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to make a model. The 3 means I have 3 groups, and then the trinomial is what is inside each group. So we can see visually that I have 3 groups of 4x squared minus 2x plus 1. So then I just need to find out what the total is. So in total I would have 12x squared tiles, I would have 6 negative x tiles, and I would have 3 1's tiles. You can also do that just symbolically by expanding the brackets, so multiplying 3 by everything inside the brackets. Either way, as our answer, we should get 12x squared minus 6x plus 3. Next, we're going to look at dividing. So for this example, we're doing 8n squared minus 8n plus 4 divided by negative 4. Now, I've modeled the 8n squared minus 8n plus 4. And since I'm dividing by negative 4, well, first, since I'm dividing by 4, I want 4 groups. So I've sort of set that up. So I've got 4 groups. Now, since I'm dividing by a negative, I need to flip over all of my groups. There, so when I flip my groups, I've essentially switched the sign of everything that we're doing. That would be because, for example, the first ones were positive and we're dividing by a negative, so our answer should be negative. Whereas the middle term, the ends, were negative and we're dividing by a negative, which we should end up with a positive. So that's why we're flipping here. And so our answer would be one of those groups, right? Because if we have a trinomial, we're dividing them into groups. When we're dividing, our answer is one group. So 8n squared minus 8n plus 4, all divided by negative 4, equals negative 2n squared plus 2n minus 1. For our next example, we're multiplying a monomial by a binomial. So we have 3b times 2b minus 2. So for this, we're going to use an area model. So in class, we would use the little plastic square things. Here, again, I'm going to use those algae tiles. So if I'm using an area model, I'm making a rectangle because the area of a rectangle is one side multiplied by the other side. So for this rectangle, I want 3b on one side and 2b minus 2 on the other side. I am going to lay out those tiles, but they're not part of the area, they're just labeling the sides. So I've got them laid out on both sides of where I'm going to make my rectangle. Now I just need to fill in my rectangle. So if I'm looking at the spot created by a b on one side and a b on the other side, a b squared would fit in there, right? Because if we have b times b, that gives us b squared. So I'm going to fill in all of my b squared areas. Now with those filled in, you'll notice I filled them in as positives because 3b is positive and 2b is positive, so when we multiply a positive by a positive, we get a positive. Next we have 3b and we're multiplying by the negative 2, so a positive times a negative will give us a negative. So that fills in the rest of our rectangle. So our answer is the area. So that would be, we have 6 b squared tiles and 6 negative b tiles. So 3b multiplied by 2b minus 2 is equal to positive 6b squared negative 6b. So that'll be how we'd multiply a monomial by a binomial. Next, we're going to try dividing a binomial by a monomial. For our last example, we're going to do 2m squared plus 6m all divided by 2m. So what we would need to do here is another area model, but when we're dividing, we're sort of working the opposite that we did with multiplying. So what we're starting with are 2m squared plus 6m. That is the area, and then 2m is one of the side lengths. So the first thing I'm going to do is put 2m along one of the sides. Okay, so we've got 2m along one of the sides there, and then we've got our 2m squared plus 6m waiting to be filled in. So if we're going to make this a rectangle, we have to make sure that all of the area lines up with the one side length that we do have. So I'm going to put my 2m over so that it lines up nicely, maybe. And then I want my 6m squares to, or sorry, my 6m's to line up just as nicely. Okay, so I've got all of the area sort of arranged so that it makes a rectangle with one side length that's 2m. And so our answer is what we need to fill in on the other side length there. So at the top, we know we can put 1m to match up with the m squared side, and then we're going to need ones to fill in the other there. So when we fill in the top side there, we have 1m tile and 3 ones tiles. So when we divide 2m squared plus 6m by 2m, we get m plus 3. If we wanted to do that symbolically, we just need to multiply each term in the first polynomial there by what we're dividing by. So we have 2m squared divided by 2m gives us the m, and 6m divided by 2m gives us the 3.